Hey guys, today we are on pages 27 and 28. This is the last thing we're going to learn before we take our test, and this is probably one of the most challenging thing, I think, because we're asking us to write equations, but we don't have a visual, we don't have a graph, we also don't have a table. All it tells us is information. So instead of filling out this information first, I'm actually going to do a problem first and then go back and hopefully show you guys a couple different ways that works best for you. So then you can pick whichever method you would prefer. So I'm going to do a problem that has a slope of 1/3 and it crosses through the point 614. Okay, and I want to write the equation of it. And what I'm missing right now is where it begins on the y-axis. So I know that the slope is 1/3, but I don't know where it begins on the y-axis. So I'm going to show you visually what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to first plot 614. So as an ordered pair, I'm going to go to the right 6, and then I'm going to go up 14. So 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4. Okay, so that is right. Okay. I also know that the slope is 1/3. So I'm going to create another couple points by going up 1 over 3. So I did 1 to 3. And I could do it again if I wanted to. But my goal is to figure out where it crosses back here. So I'm going to follow the pattern backwards. Okay. And so I see that it crosses at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So it crosses at 0, 12. So visually, I could always create a graph, plot the point, and use the slope to figure out where it crosses. So if I go back to my notes, I know that it crosses at 12. Okay? But you do have to have a piece of graph paper. I'm not saying that this isn't the most effective way, but it does work. Okay? Another way that you could do this would be to create a table. Okay? So we have our x coordinates and our y coordinates. Okay? We know it crosses at 614, so I'm going to kind of put it in the middle. And my goal is to figure out when x is 0 what the y value is. Okay, I know that the slope is 1 over 3. Remember that slope is the change in your y values over the change in your x values. So my y values are going up 1 for every time my x values are going up 3. So if I add 1 to 14, I get 15. If I add 3 to 6, I get 9. Okay? And if you guys look at the graph, 9, 15 I plotted was right here. Okay? Again, my goal is not to go forward. I want to go backwards to find when x is 0. So instead of adding 1, I'm actually going to take away 1. So I'm going to be at 13. And then instead of going up 3, I'm going to go backwards 3. So instead of, so 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay? Then I'm going to do it again. Instead of going up 1, I'm going to go backwards 1. So I'm at 12. And then instead of going up 3, I'm going to go backwards 3. So I can also visualize and see that 0, 12 is the starting point. Now again, this is fine, and that works really well as well. Now, an even quicker way would be to follow the steps right here. Okay, so we know the slope, and we know a point that contains it 4, 6, or for this case. Okay, if we want to write the equation, we know the slope, but we still need to find the y-intercept or the b value. So the quickest way to find the y-intercept would be to substitute in all the values that we do know into the equation of y equals mx plus b and solve for b. So for this instance, okay, we know that the slope is 1/3, so we know that our m value is 1/3. And we know in this point in time, we know that the x-coordinate is 6 and the y-coordinate is 14. So our awesome equation, y equals mx plus b, could be manipulated. Instead of y, our output in this case is 14. We know that our slope is 1/3. We know that our x-coordinate in this case is 6. And I don't know my b value or my starting value. Okay, I could figure out that 1/3 of 6 multiplied together is 2. And 2 plus something, 2 plus b has to equal 14. So that means that b equals 12. Okay, so there is 3 different ways that we could figure out where our starting point is, and you kind of just need to figure out which method is the best. Do you want to get a piece of graph paper out every single time and graph it? Do you want to use a table and use your slope and your concepts of starting points to go back to 0? Or would you rather just kind of plug in some numbers and figure out what b is? Okay, so we're going to do a couple more. Stop. Okay, so let's say we have a slope of -5 and it crosses through the ordered pair 5, -22. So if I were to graph this, it goes through 5, -22. So first I have to find that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, -22 right here. And I know that it has a slope of -5. So I would go down 5 and right 1. Well, right now I can't really go down anymore or over anymore because my graph paper just isn't big enough. So instead of going down and right, I'm going to go up and left. Okay, so I'm going to go up 5 over 1. And I'm going to do it again and again and again. So it looks like it starts at 0, 3. And if we do it right, hopefully we also get 3 in our other ways. So we'll check to see if it is y equals -5x plus 3. Okay, if you would rather use a table, we know that it is 5, -22. Okay. We know that the slope is -5 over 1. So if we were to go regular, we would go down 5 and up 1. So that would be -27 and 6. But we want to go backwards to 0. Okay. So instead of going down 5, we're basically just going to go up 5 a bunch. So we would be at -17, -12, -7, -2, and 3. So again, if you like the table way, you kind of have to be feel confident with your mental math ability, but we also know that it is 3. My favorite way is just using the equation. I know that in this instance, my slope is -5, and I know an ordered pair that it goes through is 5, -22. Okay, so my output is -22. My slope is -5. My x coordinate is 5, and I do not know my b value. So -5 times 5 is -25. And I want to know -25 plus what equals -22. And -22 plus 25 is 3. So again, it does not matter however you choose to do it. If you like to graph, if you like to do a table, if you like to just do it the equation way. So for tomorrow, you're going to have number 3 and 4 completed. All right, then on to page 28. There is some problems, and we're going to again do it together. Now this one, we don't even know the slope. All we know is that it crosses through -4, 0, and 1, 5. Okay. So all we know is that it goes through -4, 0, and 1, 5. So if you are a visual person, we would have to plot these points. -4, 0, and 1, 5. 0, 1, 5. Okay, so we know it crosses somewhere right here. It looks like we have to find the slope first. So the slope is up 5 over 5. Okay, so the slope is 5 to 5, which is equivalent to 1. Then we need to find our starting point. So I would start here and kind of go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And we can see that it crosses at 0, 4. So our equation that we could write would be y equals 1x plus 4. Okay. If you guys like the table way, okay, we have -4, 0. Okay, and I'm going to fill in a little bit more of the table. And 1, 5. Okay, the only thing I know is -4, 0 and 1, 5. So you go from 0 to 5 by adding 5. You go from -4 to 1 by adding 5 as well. So the slope is 5 over 5, which is equivalent to 1. Then we need to figure out, our goal is to figure out right here. Okay, so instead of going up 5, we could go at a simpler rate of up 1 and up 1. Okay, so 0 plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. So we can see that it crosses at 0, 4. Okay. Now, another way that we could do this, a more algebraic way, would be to follow these steps right here. If you are only given ordered pairs, first what we would have to do is calculate the slope. And there's many ways to calculate slope. Most of us like to just do the change in the y over the change in the x, or to do the formula. Okay. Then you know the slope, and you would pick one of the ordered pairs. And then it would be very similar to the problems on the first page, where we would substitute in the slope that we just calculated and the ordered pair into y equals mx is b and solve for that b value. Okay, so if we didn't do it the table way, we could just find the slope. So to go from 0 to 5, which is kind of like what we just did, we would go up 5. To go from -4 to 1, we would also go up 5, which is exactly what we did in the table. So the slope is a 1-to-1 ratio. Okay. Then you could pick any ordered pair that you prefer. It does not matter. You'll get the same answer either way. I'm going to use 1, 5 just because I don't like negatives if I can help it. Okay. So my slope is 1. My x-coordinate is 5. Or 1, my y-coordinate is 5. Okay. Then I'm going to plug in this information. I know that my output is 5. I know my slope is 1. I know that my x-coordinate is 1. And I do not know my b value. 1 times 1 is 1. And 1 plus something has to equal 5. And that something would have to be 4. So again, I'm just showing you guys various ways. You do not need to know how to do every single way. You just have to pick a way that's going to make the most sense to you. Okay. We'll do one more, and then we'll do the word problem. So 4, -2, and -2, -4. Okay. I'm going to show you the algebraic way first, and then the table way, and then the graph way. Okay. So first, I'm just going to find the slope. So to go from my y's to my y's, to go from -2 to -4, I would have to go down 2. To go from 4 to -4, I'm going to have to go down, and I'm going to have to go down 8. Okay, so my slope is the change in my y's, -2, over the change in my x's, -8. And -2 over -8, that's a negative. So it's simplified to a positive, and 2 over 8 is equivalent to 1/4. So my slope is 1/4. Okay. I'm going to pick either one of my ordered pairs. It doesn't technically matter. I'm going to pick 4, -2. So my x coordinate is 4, my y coordinate is -2. Okay, so then I'm going to substitute in those values. My y coordinate is -2, my slope is 1/4, my x's coordinate is 4. I do not know my b value. 1/4 of 4 is 1. And -1 plus something has to equal -2. And that something would be -3. So my equation is y equals 1/4 x minus 3. Okay. If you guys are more of a visual person, we can graph this as well just to also see that it starts at -3 and that the slope is 1/4. So we would plot the two coordinates. Okay, so our two coordinates are 4, -2, and -4, -4. So I'm going to go ahead and plot those points. So 4, -2, and -4, -4. Okay, so we have these 2 points. We need to first find the slope. So it looks like it goes up 2 over 8. So the slope is a 2:8 ratio, which is equivalent to 1:4. Okay, so then I need to figure out where it crosses right here. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 4. Okay, and so I see that it crosses at 0, -3. So my equation would be y equals 1/4 x minus 3, which is what matches what I calculated. So that's kind of cool. Then if you like the table way, I'll show you the table way one more time. Okay, so 4, -2. So I'm going to put 0 right here. I'm going to put 4, -2. And I'm going to put -4, -4. So basically here's 0, my positive number, my negative number. Okay, to find the slope, the change in the y's is up 2. The change in the x's are up 8, which we've already calculated. That's a 2:8 ratio, which is a slope of 1/4, which we have been doing anyway. Okay, so every time my y's go up 1, my x's go up 4. Now -4 plus 4 is 0 for my x coordinate, and -4 plus 1 is -3, which we've calculated that is the starting point for all of these. So it is really cool that it works a bunch of different ways. You just have to pick which way is the most efficient for you, because honestly, the graphing way is fine for these two problems and even for probably these two problems, but I'm not going to have any fun trying to graph 2, -24 and -3, 36, or 38 or something like that. So I would maybe try another way that's more effective than graphing. Okay, so what for tomorrow, you guys are going to do 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then the last one thing we're going to do together is this word problem. So at a local pizza shop, customers pay a set price for a large pizza plus an additional charge per topping ordered. A large pizza with 2 toppings would cost $13.50, and a large pizza with 5 toppings would cost $15.75. What 2 ordered pairs could you make out of this situation? Okay, so for my ordered pairs, I'm going to say, because basically what's happening is you have different numbers of toppings, and the cost of the pizza is going to change. So my ordered pair for one situation, we have 2 toppings, and that equals $13.50. And for my other pizza, I have a 5 topping pizza that costs $15.75. Then it says, write an equation for this situation using the ordered pairs. Show all of your work. Now, I don't recommend graphing for this problem either, because who's going to want to graph 13.50 and 15.75? So I like to use different methods to help me figure this out. So I'm going to use a table method. I'll write it over here, and I'll also show you the algebraic way as well. So I know that 2 toppings, is $13.50. And I know that 5 toppings is $15.75. And whether you use the table method to find the slope or you just find slope by finding the change in the change, you'll still get the same answer, okay? The change in the money, okay, we need to figure out what the difference between that is. And $15.75 minus $3.50 is $2.25. Okay, again, if you just found the slope, you would be like, oh, that's up $2.25. And the change in the x's is 3 toppings. Okay, or to go from 2 to 5, it's up 3. Okay, now I'm going to divide $2.25 divided by 3, and I'm going to get 75 cents. Okay, and I'm going to interpret that right now. That means it's it's 75 cents per topping. So it's okay right now that we have a slope that is 75 cents because that actually is more helpful when we want to find the starting cost. Okay. Now, if you want to use the table, the slope is a simplified, instead of 225 over 3, we could simplify that to 75 cents over 1. So I could go up 75 cents. So I'm going to do $13.50 plus 75 cents, and I get $14.25. And I would go up another topping. I could go up another 75 cents and get $15. And just to check, $15 plus another 75 cents would be $15.75. Now, I don't want more toppings. I want to know what is the base cost with no toppings. So instead of going up 75 cents from here, I'm going to actually take away 75 cents. So I would be at $12.75 for 1 topping. And then I would go backwards one more time, $12.75 minus 75 cents, which would be 12. So 0 toppings would cost $12. So my equation that I could write would be y equals 75 cents, x plus 12. Now, if you do not like the table way, if that's not just how your brain works, you already know that your slope is 75. You also have these 2 ordered pairs. So I'm just going to use the smaller one. It doesn't really matter. And I am going to say that the x is 2 and the y is $13.50. So y equals mx plus b. My output is $13.50. My slope is 75 cents. My x is 2. And I don't know what my b value is. So now I'm going to do 75 cents times 2. And that's $1.50. And $1.50 plus what equals $13.50. And we would also get 12. So I think you can either use whatever method makes the most sense to you and kind of go from there. So for tomorrow, or for Monday or for Tuesday, you guys are going to try 3 and 4. And you're going to try 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'll see you guys then.